Dhummad, who is here with us to share his journey of enterprise architecture. Sandip is an enterprise architect with extensive experience of leading organization-wide technology transformation initiatives, leading, defining, and executing enterprise IT strategies like cloud, API, and DevOps. He has successfully defined organizational level cloud strategies, programs, roadmaps, and app migrations to cloud. AWS, he's an AWS certified solution architect, and he's a developer evangelist where he led or contributed to many communities of practice, delivered talks and workshops at internal as well as external technology events for increasing developer awareness. Sandip, what a gift to have you with us. We're very much looking forward to your presentation today.
Thank you, Jose. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the talk. Today, we're going to talk about utilizing EA and business capability modeling to drive strategy and strategic technology investments. So without further ado, let's dive right into the agenda. So we're going to start off with introduction. We're going to talk about what is the business capability, what is strategy, and then we will get into how EA and business capability modeling can help drive a strategy. And in the end, in the last section, we will talk about various different ways you can use the business capability modeling for driving your strategic investment decisions. So introduction, business capability. What is business capability? Well, business capability is nothing but it defines what your business is for. It basically talks only about the what part of your business. It doesn't talk about how, it doesn't talk about who. The reason why it doesn't talk about how this business capability is getting realized in your organization and who really helps realize that is because these things are very fluid. They change all the time. But fundamentally, what your business is doing, that doesn't change. Now, you might think that, hey, you know what, the business capability is all about what the business is doing. Then, why is it so important? Well, the most important thing that business capability brings to a table is that it defines a common language between business and technology. So when business and technology is having any interactions, either on requirements or on solution, business capability basically helps, it rescues, it basically removes a lot of confusion in the various people who are interacting in that conversation. There are three types of business capabilities. Core capabilities are, as the name suggests, they are core. They are the core to your business. That's where you are adding the value to your customer. Supplemental capabilities are built on top of core capabilities, and enabling capabilities are the foundation for the core capabilities. Now, let's take an example to make it simple, right? If you are an investment bank, your core capabilities would be how you go about deciding what stocks you might be buying for your customer. The supplemental capabilities would be, the user interfaces and UI that you are building and giving to your customers so that they can track their portfolio. And the enabling capabilities could be your IBOR and ABOR systems like accounting and ledgering system that helps enable building those core capabilities. Now the next thing is about strategy. I think what is strategy? Well, simply speaking, strategy is nothing but a framework for making decisions. Now, you might see that a lot of people get confused with strategy with the plan, the list of tasks. You might have heard people saying, what, my strategy is to do X and then Y and then Z. Well, that's the plan. That's the plan after you make a decision. Now, you might also think in your mind that, when we talk about strategy, is that something that only elite group of people they would be doing? Or are we also doing strategic thinking in our daily life? Well, we do strategy all the time. Let's take one example here. Like if you want to visit your parents on Thanksgiving, you can use many different modes of transportation. You can do a drive, you can fly, you can take a train ride. How you go about deciding that? Well, you look at certain criteria like speed, convenience, cost, and you make that decision for yourself. So we are doing strategic thinking all day long for various different things. So strategy is simple. Now, the next thing is, what is business strategy? We heard hear a lot of fad about business strategy all over the internet, but the godfather of strategy, Michael Porter, he says that business strategy is all about being different. It's not about being best, it's all about being different. It's all about building the unique value proposition for your customer. It's all about building those different activities that basically help deliver this unique value to your customer. So it's all about being different. Business strategy by no means best practices. It means downsizing your business. By no means it means restructuring of your business. These are the decisions that you might take for driving the competitive advantage of your business, but these things are not the strategy. Well, the next important topic, how EA and business capability modeling can drive a strategy. Now, let's take an example, right? If you are a bank, there is an ABC bank here on your screen, and as any bank, this bank has these capabilities. It does investment banking, it does commercial banking for the business loans, it does retail banking for the people like us, it does wealth management, it does the insurance. What is the goal of investment banking? The goal of investment banking is to provide higher rate of returns to their customer with the better customer service. Now, if we try to connect back with what is strategy and what is business capability, I think the biggest question is that for an investment bank, what should be an investment strategy? What are those differentiating capabilities that can help you provide better rate of return to your customers? Traditionally, these differentiating capabilities were diversification of your portfolio. Like there is very important theory that is called modern portfolio theory, and in that theory, a gentleman said that you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, or you don't want to invest into a script that can yield you a higher return, but also it has a higher risk. So this is a very common strategy that any portfolio, any investment bank would use for managing their portfolio. The other differentiating capability was you need to have a solid quantitative research and analytics team that can help you do necessary market research and then provide you the details about what are the skills that you should be investing in. The problem with this is a traditional way of doing it, meaning every bank on a street has mastered in these capabilities. And that's why if you look at it today, the stock market is called highly efficient market, meaning it's very hard to make money in stock market until and unless you don't have a strong footing on those differentiating capabilities. Now the question would be that what is the modern way of doing it? What are those different capabilities that those are considered to be a differentiating capabilities today? So one of the things would be that using an AI and ML technique, like doing a robo trading or doing a continuous risk management, rather than we all know 2008 bubble. The banks, they did not have a strong foundations on risk monitoring and management. They fall flat. The other differentiating capability is employing an alternate data. In the traditional strategy that we looked at it, diversification of portfolio and the quant research, it was largely based on the market data and companies' financial data. But in today's world, we all know the GameStops and Reddit saga that happened a few days ago, last month, I believe. You have to pay a lot of attention to social media, your web analytics, mobile app analytics, credit card manual data. There are a lot of different kinds of alternate data available. You should be using those alternate data while you are doing portfolio engineering. And last but not least, recently there are a lot of discussions about being responsible to the environment as well as being responsible socially. so that people are basically investing more on sustainable investments, which is called ESG. So what I'm trying to say is that the differentiating capabilities that used to be in traditional world for the investment banking had changed significantly in recent past. What does that mean to you and to your strategy thinking? Is that if you are a CTO or if you are in the leadership position, what you would be doing is that you would be basically defining your business and IT strategy around these new differentiating capabilities. At the end of the day, these differentiating capabilities, traditional or modern, they help you do a trading, right? If you look at the higher level capability map, but it fundamentally changes how you go about doing trading. So you have to basically define your business and IT strategy aligning to these new differentiating capabilities. And for that, and then this strategy can help define your roadmap, your 3-year roadmap or 4-5-year roadmap for your program and portfolio for the company, and help define also operating model. You have to decide what do you want to do for getting these capabilities. Are you going to buy a new startup, or are you going to establish a brand new team that is completely focused on this? So anyway, so what I wanted to say is that everything that we talked about, the capabilities are the driving your strategy. Now the next question is that, well, if the capabilities are driving your strategy, how is the EA can help building this capability map? So if you look at it, right, within an organization, developers or engineers are very busy in doing in building out the different capabilities that business user want. They are working on the requirements. EAs are the people, they can come in, they can look at the outside in and inside out view, they can interact with the business, and they can help define this capability model for the company. As you see on your right hand side, this is like one of the capability models that I had built off of a Microsoft's reference capability model for the banking. It's the 3-level capability map, right, that helps define what an investment or what a bank should be doing. The EA can also go further down. They can categorize these capabilities as whether they are core capabilities, supplemental capabilities, and enabler capabilities, because that classification helps drive your IT portfolio investment. Your EA can also make sure, because EA are the people where rubber meets the road. So what EA can do is that they can go about defining these capabilities at the detail level possible, so that the engineers can derive and associate different technology products and services that they need to build. Like in this example that you see on your right hand side, it's a 3-level capability model where one of the capabilities of an investment banking is called trading. We all know that how you do a trading, that fundamentally varies from what kind of asset type, like whether you are trading in stock, whether you are trading on credit investment. They are fundamentally different things. So what EA would do is that EA can help define this capability model further level down, so that engineers have better understanding of what is required from them, what is expected from them. Then EA can also help define a deep architecture, which will basically talk about what are the application, reusable component and services that company should be building, what are the business practice processes that company should be implementing as a workflow, and then what kind of data management platforms that company should be building. So EA can help big way in defining this capability map. Now, once we have a capability map ready, which basically defines what we expect in the target state, then this the diagram that you see on your right is basically a high level diagram, talks about how can you convert your organization into a capability led organization. Meaning, once you define your once you assess your current capabilities, and once you define and then define your target capability, the EA can basically go about doing a current state assessment and define and then compare it with the future state, like how they want to see the business, data, application, and infrastructure architecture in future. And then they can help do a gap analysis, and then that gap analysis basically help drive your IT portfolio strategy, your 3-year roadmap. Now the next question is, EA and capability modeling can help drive the strategic technology investment. So what are the different ways this capability modeling can help drive your capability, your strategic technology investment? Well, there are so many different ways. We can use these things for driving our technology investment. But I think the most important things are three in my mind. The number one is that defining an effective IT project portfolio management, right? We talked about it, I think, in previous slides, how capability modeling can help drive 3-year roadmap, etc. The next thing is it can help reduce your application sprawl through an application portfolio rationalization. Many of the enterprises, in fact, most of the enterprises would have some level of application sprawl. You would be building so many applications, multiple applications doing the same thing, just a different implementation. And one of the major drivers for that is that, Convoy's law. How is your organization structure and how is the budget is allocated to the different teams? That basically defines how they go about implementing the systems. One of the organizations I was working with, we used to have so many different applications. They are doing nothing but model execution. They are just operating on different various sets of models. But at the end of the day, these are model execution applications. These are all analytical applications. The third thing here is that capability modeling can also help reduce your technology sprawl. Within an organization, you will always find that for doing one thing, there are so many different technologies that we are leveraging. Well, there's nothing wrong in that, but at some point in time, you have to strike a balance. How many technologies are good for you? You have to basically decide. And the capability modeling can help there, because once you have a capability modeling defined, it helps you tell that what are the different technology capabilities that you may need within an organization, and you use them for deciding what are the technologies that fit to your need. Let's dive into it, right? So number one, effective IT portfolio, project portfolio management. The most important thing I always think about it, being a CTO, Chief Technology Officer, if he has to show a value to the organization, what is that matrix that can help define that value? And obviously there are so many different value metrics, in terms of agility, in terms of innovations, etc., etc. I think, to me, what I think is one of the biggest metrics that I would like to see is that how is the CTO helping implement the business strategy? How is the CTO in his tenure help build those differentiating capabilities that is being required by the business for driving their next growth? And that's most important aspect. And we had seen so many times in our past life is that if we look at the IT project portfolio management meeting, what happens? There are a bunch of business users from the business team. They have a bunch of requirements specific to their need. The needs are mainly the need of an hour. They may not be always thinking strategically. So you would be implementing so many different applications and services throughout the year, and the net result would be that you might not be moving that needle of how much of the value that you are adding by creating those differentiating capabilities. One way of reflecting onto this is that, as you see here, once you have a capability modeling diagram, like you have it on the right hand side, what you may want to do is that you may want to compare this diagram with last 5 years of IT budget spending. So as you see here in this this company has spent a lot of money on capabilities like regulations and compliance, because after 2008 bubble, the government has become stricter. There are so many different uh, regulatory and compliance need that has been enforced. So companies were busy implementing it. But guess what? That means companies are doing that at the sacrifice of the core differentiating capabilities which are required in today's day and age, which is bringing, as we talked about, bringing the AI ML in your research, using the alternate data in your research, building your portfolio and stuff like that. So if you see picture like this, like, you're spending more on the capabilities which are not that relevant today, then, that's rings a bell in your mind that, okay, you know what, we are not doing an effective IT portfolio management. The other way of look at it is that the company's success really depends on the resources, how best they are doing resourcing within the organization. By looking at this, what we have to see is that we can also map out our key resources and key talent along with your capabilities and try to figure it out. Is your key resources engaged in building the key capabilities or differentiating capabilities for the success of your organization? The next use case, application portfolio rationalization. Well, this is very important topic because, this is the place where, most of the organizations have a lot of sprawl, and, the application sprawl indirectly means a lot of burden on your budget, because, you would be having a lot of people working for supporting those applications. And one of the biggest costs on IT is, the human capital cost, right? So what we are saying is that as an EA and the capability model can help rectify this problem. How it can all play out. So this is one of the things that we had done in one of my previous organizations while driving the APR initiative. And I'll go about, our entire story, what we had done step by step. So what we had done was that, we looked at each and every application, and we try to look at application with 6 different dimensions. What is the business architecture of the application, meaning what are the different business capabilities that this application is fulfilling. What is the technical architecture assessment, meaning how is this capability is implemented, what is the technology, what is the implementation architecture, what is the solution architecture, are they all aligning to a strategic way of doing stuff. You don't want to have Power Builder application as part of your strategic portfolio because you may not find the resources for supporting them. Then, you would we did the data architecture assessment of these applications. We also try to align these applications with an enterprise and strategic alignment, meaning, what are the capabilities, are the differentiating capabilities, are these applications aligned well with those strategic initiatives. Then obviously financial assessment and the organization architecture, meaning, who are all people they are supporting these applications and how good they are, and if there is any skill gap. We use all these different factors of an application, and then, drew them through a rationalization process, which is mainly based on a capability modeling of the organization. And then in the end, we decided, we kind of define a disposition of the application, saying that whether you want to retain or tolerate this application, or you want to build new application, or you want to retire and replace application. What is the end result? The end result is you would have an application portfolio where you have very low application sprawl and technology sprawl. What does the rationalization process look like? The Sandip thing. Well, there are 5 different steps that you can follow. Number 1 is APR strategy. As we talked about, strategy is nothing but decision-making framework. So you need to define at high level what are the different things that people can do with their application, and what is the guideline for them to pick respective options. What are the different criteria that they can use for picking those respective options as well. The next step is, capability definition. Here, you basically work with your business, you look at inside out and outside in perspectives, and then come up with your target state capability that's going to help drive your business growth. Once that is done, then, what we had done was we looked at each and every applications and did the capability analysis, which is using those 6 dimensions that we just talked about. And then, the next steps, once we know what are these applications look like and what is their health in those 6 different dimensions, what we had done was we started defining an APR roadmap, meaning, like, we kind of started assigning an app disposition with these applications, defining whether this application is going to stay or it's going to retire. And if it's going to retire, then what is that other applications, or what are the set of capabilities are going to replace this application? And that's again high level. These APR roadmap were given to the product team, and the product team basically comes up with actionable product roadmap. And in the end, there is an app retirement project that basically helps drive retiring a bunch of these applications. So what was our APR strategy? We basically had three different things, called build, maintain, and mature. So either you build a new platform rather than building one-off custom applications, you focus on building a platform, feature-rich, capability-rich platform that can help retire so many applications that you have in your portfolio, which are having the similar capability implementation. You can also do something called maintain. If you have some COTS product, you have technical debt like Power Builder application, but those applications are critical for your business today, you just maintain those applications. And the last but not least, called mature. There are some applications that you want to keep. They are already in good shape. They are already following to your architectural principles of being a modern application. Then you may want to invest in those applications. You want to mature those applications to basically be more cloud first, API first, DevOps first, cloud portable, and there is no vendor lock-in. So with this guideline and the capability definition that we talked about it earlier, what we had done was, for doing an capability analysis at an application level, we built a dashboard, highly interactive dashboard, and this dashboard basically helps understand what are the issues that we have in our application portfolio today. So as you see here, the number one thing is that this matrix is very important matrix to me. Number of capabilities implemented per application. As you see here, it's called 0.28. That means your application is implementing only 0.28 capabilities. Is that good? Obviously not. At least you should have an application implementing at least one capability, if not more than that. But less than one capability clearly means that you have a lot of applications sprawl, and that's very clear here. You look at it. There are 58 capabilities, and there are 204 applications. The other thing that we had learned is that we had 24.4% application portfolio on the retail banking sector. Now, as we all know, how many of you really go to bank and the banking center for doing your banking transactions? Due to technology, now those things are become like non-relevant. You can also deposit your check from your mobile phone. So all the systems and the tools that you have been implementing for supporting your the branch offices, like brick and mortar branch offices, kind of became irrelevant in today's day and age. So it's like low yield, high maintenance cost. So you should be trying to build platforms that can help shrink that application portfolio in this particular segment. What we had also seen is that we had highly unbalanced product portfolio. So as you look at here, so this is the chart built by the product pillar, like typically how the banks are organized: front office, back office, middle office, and the governance and compliance. We were having the maximum number of applications in the back office. What does that mean? Most of the stuff that you do in the back office are the mundane tasks. They are non-trivial tasks. Oh, sorry, they are trivial tasks. It's being implemented by each and every bank on the street. These are not your differentiating capabilities. So you should not be investing a lot on this back office, meaning, you should try to basically buy a platform or implement a platform that can help reduce this application footprint. So these kind of dashboard and the capability analysis was basically very important. They gave us a lot of insight in our application portfolio. And now continuing on that, this is so obviously other screen on the same dashboard. In fact, we had so many screens and so many different ways we analyze this data. But the other screen on the dashboard, which is called value stream analysis, you can see that in front office we had only 19 capabilities, and for supporting 19 capabilities we had 72 applications. What does that mean? That means that we had a lot of applications doing the same thing. Like we had, let's say, 10 applications doing trading. Do we really need 10 applications doing trading, right? Then other thing that we had seen is that non-optimized app portfolio. So as you see here, the commercial and business banking sector, that has about 35-ish capability, but it has 100 applications. Now this is one of the segment where you don't have a big you don't have a lot of transaction happening. Whatever transaction happens are the big transactions, but you don't have a lot of transactions happening. So I think the question is that, do we really need 100 plus applications supporting this particular area? So by looking at all these things, all these observations, we kind of come up with three different things as part of our APR strategy. Is that we want to do we want to build a platform that can help to an application consolidation. We want to optimize our portfolio by reducing our waste, and also doing a rationalization of our capabilities and features of an application, because sometimes there are some applications implementing some of the capabilities are not relevant anymore, but we still have them as part of application. We still have those applications even though there are 2 users are using it. And the third thing is that high yielding for a product portfolio. So with that, then as a next step, defining an APR roadmap. So what we had done was, we had built. The next question that we had was, okay, so that's fine. This is all great, all inside. But the major question is, how am I going to replace application A, application one with application 2? And what are those applications they should be replaced with each other? So what we had done was, so you can do with the help of capability modeling. Again, everything is based on capability model. Each line here that you see is basically the number of capabilities are similar between these two applications, and the width of that represents the number of capability, and line represents if they're implementing same capability. So we had done this kind of chart, and that basically gave us a lot of insight. What are those applications they should be merged together. We also did, as part of APR roadmap, we kind of defined, remember we talked about capability definition and then coming up with the target state platform. So we had defined this target state platform as part of our portfolio, that we need an analytical platform for reducing our trading application into one. We need some sort of data mesh platform. We need some sort of risk platform, order management platform, ABOR, KYC, etc. And we kind of tied these platforms with the capabilities. And we did this nice Sankey chart where the application are automatically linked to a capability. Basically tells me that how is this application should be retired or merged or replaced. So with that, what I would like to say is that capability modeling basically helps drive a lot of business decision and the strategy that you can make within an organization. And companies like McKinsey has published this very nice quote. They are saying that not all transformation and the organizational excellence programs succeed, but on an average, those companies they will succeed. They basically build their programs based on capability, meaning they are investing in building the capabilities which are important to them, and they always think with the capability mindset, product mindset. They have 4.1 times higher likely success ratio compared to their other companies operating in same organization. So capability modeling is very important for defining your IT portfolio strategy, for APR strategy, for your technology portfolio strategy, and it's key to the success of your business. It's key to help you define those differentiating capabilities. Now you might wonder that, okay, if I have a small company and we don't have this EA function or EA, how am I going to do it if I'm a startup? Well, to me, I always think that EA is just a function. It's not a role. That function can be done by a specific role dedicated to a specific set of people like us in enterprises, or it can be done, like if you're a startup, it can be done by the startup owner, the CEO and CTO of the company. They are always doing strategic thinking. They are always thinking about what are the capabilities that makes more sense to their customer, and how should they go about implementing those capabilities, and what is their product roadmap look like. It's all about the foundational thought process or critical thinking of driving your success of your startup. So again, for whatever I just talked about, that may sound like too much, and it would require, you might think that it would require a complete EA organization for doing it. Well, that's not always true. It can be done by any person who is assuming that EA function role. With that, thank you so much. I'll pass it back to Jose. It's over to you, Jose.
Fantastic, Sandip. What a great insight! What great insights and presentation on real the process of enterprise architecture that you have covered so well. So I will ask you to stop showing your presentation screen to the audience so that I can bring my camera back on. And we had several questions that have come up. Again, thank you so much. Wonderful review of the steps that are necessary, kind of the discipline approach really that you presented here so well. And the very first question that came up was that, first, thank you for the presentation. This seems to be an effective approach to getting enterprise architecture right. It also appears to require discipline, resources, and time. And the question is, what resistance do you find when you're trying to implement a discipline approach like the one you have just shared with us as a first question? And then how do you overcome that? So this comes from William Fuller in Oregon, and he basically saying that this looks great, and it does. But at any time that we try to do a discipline approach in a large organization, you know this very well, there will be people who say, oh, that sounds very good, but I have a better way of doing it. We can get it done real quick. You just use this app, we're going to solve world hunger. And how do you deal with that when you're trying to be disciplined about the approach?
Well, that's a fantastic question. This is the crux of everything, right? That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where, I'll take one example. When I was working for a financial organization, we were working on defining that analytical platform. The whole idea was that the analytical platform can help basically consolidate so many different applications that help do the model execution into one platform. There are so many different stakeholders here. Those individual business users who basically give the budget for implementing this application is very near and dear to their heart, right? They don't want to lose control of that application. They don't want their application to be retired. But at the same time, is that the scalable approach? Obviously not. So what we had done was that we kind of defined a working group between IT, like technology, and the business. And that working group's responsibility is to define a charter. We basically define, we talked among each other. We define, how the business modeling team will go about doing a business model development, and how we on a technology will go about onboarding those models on our platform. And that conversation between these two groups, that basically enabled, at the end of the day, it's all about conversation. People differences will get rectified when we start talking to each other in the right setup forum. So we started doing this conversation. That conversation, it helped basically us come on the same alignment, and that alignment on both from the business and technology side, and also from the senior management team, obviously, basically helped drive the technology platform implementation, and that in turn helped retire some of the applications. So I think it's all basically building that strategic partnership with the business with the right forum that helps getting the success.
Yeah, so this is such a great point because you're talking about governance now, and it sounds like a bit of a steering type of committee or whatever name in the organization you want to call it. That communication can be quite challenging, Sandip, because you have sometimes people who are very knowledgeable on the technical side, and then people who are very knowledgeable on the business side, and they do not speak the same language. And then you get them in the room, and you want them to agree on things. And as we know, it's easier to add things than to remove things from the system, because it just takes one person in the company to say that this application is critical. So that for us to have a real hard time, to get rid of the application, because it may be that you shouldn't get rid of the application. So I remember in the organizations I work with, every 3 or 4 years, we would have like this big cleanup of the hundreds of applications that were no longer used, and there will always be someone out there somewhere in the world that says, oh, no, this application is so needed. So tell us a little bit more about that collaborative process. How do you engage and collaborate effectively, in such a complex environment?
Well, the major driver here is the coming up with the common language. That's your capability modeling. The business. I'll give a very practical experience. When we started this conversation with our business partners in this forum, I think first 10-15 days, we had a conversation. I think we were just kind of aligning to the term that we are using on the technology as well as on the business side, because we were using different vocabularies and that was creating a lot of confusion. Very simple thing. When we were using word like UI, we all know on technology side, what UI means. It's the user interface. It's some sort of web application or mobile application. The understanding of UI versus UX was very different on the business side. So the capability modeling basically helps drive that conversation very effectively. But one thing that I would like to add on that APR, and then the point that you made, is that whenever that exercise happens within an organization, like let's clean up a bunch of applications. Usually, you would end up cleaning up non-value applications. I had driven this portfolio like APR initiatives. I had seen that when we go and talk to people and then talk about capability, we at the end of the day, there's a metric. The goal is given to the people. Okay, by end of this year, we want to get rid of 10% of an application from our portfolio. What is that 10% going to look like? A, nobody is using that application. B, that application is being used by very limited set of people. At the end of the day, what is the value of APR as an initiative to the organization? Is next to nothing, right? And that's also very important metric. Whenever you do this, you want to make sure that you bring value to the table. Otherwise, people would be like, hey, you know what, we did all this effort and what we gain. The one important metric that one of my CTO, he always used to take into account is called, how much is the capacity that I am going to get back by doing this? Like if somebody says, okay, go to cloud, or let's go to DevOps, do DevOps, CI/CD, it's all important. It's all about bringing the efficiency to the table. What does that efficiency translate to me? Am I able to build more capabilities? Am I able to build more applications and the requirements that business is looking for? If not, then it's just of no use.
That's very good insights and examples, Sandeep. Appreciate that. And a very tactical question that has come up has to do with the frequency of these reviews. How often, what type of cadence you have of getting the team to review what's going on? How often does that happen?
Yeah, so I mean, it depends on companies to companies. What we were doing was that, obviously one of the ES function is doing API. I mean, that's the core function, one of the core functions of EA. So for those people who are in the EA function, they are continuously looking at the application. The way we manage it is that, we have something called application review board, right? So an architecture review board, if you think that way. So any new project that comes into play, they come to an architecture review board for getting the permit, whether it's called design permit, initiation permit, release permit, etc. That's how we get the visibility into what are we building and how are we building. And when we release, we also know that what are we releasing? Is that application good enough architecturally so that we don't run into troubles later on in day two scenario. So it's like continuous process. And as part of this ERP, it gives us an opportunity to basically look at the documents and then being part of that conversation with the business. That what is their business strategy? What they are trying to get? Where are they trying to take the business in next 2 years, right? And that opportunity of getting engaged into that discussion, and also opportunity of getting engaged with the technology team who is going to implement this application, that basically helps us become a glue in making sure that we get our IT strategy right, aligning to a business strategy. So it's a continuous process.
That's very good, Sandip. What an insightful session. Love the strategic view with a very tactical approach on how to execute on that strategy. On behalf of our global community today, would like to say thank you for sharing your expertise and wisdom with us.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Sandip Dhummad there, an enterprise architect leader in global leading organizations who do it and apply these best practices to their strategy and deployment of enterprise architecture. So you've heard directly from one of the best. Again, a true practitioner. Now we're going to take a break now, and at the top of the hour, we're going to be coming back with another tremendous industry and thought leader who is implementing excellence, innovation, enterprise architecture at his organization. And I'm talking about Lee Bogner, who is a global e-commerce enterprise architect and innovations strategy for Mars. So we'll see you all at the top of the hour for this wonderful presentation on how enterprise architecture framework is creating value using digital ventures innovation. So I'll see you back soon.